Hey, Learning Journey. Good evening. Happy April Fool's Day. Happy April. We have made it 4 months into this year. Thank God. I know that when we were
Thank
looking
God.
back in January, I know it's been a long, cold winter, but we're finally coming up against some springtime weather and new blossoms, new trees, new everything. And when we talk about new trees here in Florida, the pollen is very, very high. It is affecting us
Mm.
here like none other season with the winds blowing and everything. But we just thank God that we're able to make it to April. Welcome, Lee.
Thank you, Lynn, and welcome Learning Journey, welcome Healing Journey. The pollen is very high here also in South Carolina. And I'm so thankful for this April weather that's coming about and that we're leaving the winter. Winter's beautiful time of the year, but it kind of leaves me a little bit down or so. So I can't wait until we get to that springtime. So it's time for me to get out a little bit more and see what's on the outside and stuff. I like
Yes,
that. But I'm
yes.
so
I just
happy to
put
be here and welcome. Happy Easter. Happy belated Easter and a happy April to everyone.
Yes, I just put some spring flowers up. I don't know if they could see them, but I wanted
Me
to do
too.
that for a moment so everybody could see
Mhm,
the spring
mhm.
flowers and the blossoming. And in the winter, God, He has to prune things off of the tree. So anything that
Yeah.
is not there in the spring, you have new leaves and new blossoms. So we're gonna look at that in our lives.
Mhm.
Is the spring is new, and there are certain things that still need to be pruned from our life as we look at the springtime. Tonight we want to talk about anger, because anger is something that these situations that loved ones are put in can cause anger against the system,
Yes.
anger against your loved one. And we get angry when we perceive an injustice, when have we have been wronged or experienced provocation that challenges our values and our principles. So you think about your loved one, and you have raised them and you have taught them certain things. So when this happens, it can cause you a great deal of anger. And sometimes that anger that is managed through destructive and aggressive means can lead to violence, domestic abuse, bullying, or abusive parenting practices. So, if you're a parent and your loved one has been arrested, you might take that out on the other children. So, we thought it was important to cover anger and anger management. How do you manage that anger? Because I know it's a lot of times my tolerance for anger is very, very low. So we just wanted to bring that to your attention. I don't know, Lee, did you feel any anger when this happened with your loved one?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I felt quite a bit of anger. Questioned myself and I became angry because I said, what did I do? Did I miss something? That I didn't do something right? A lot of questions. I was angry at the other
Hmm.
person that was involved, that was with my son.
Hmm.
Felt a little anger toward, quote unquote, a lot of anger against the
Hmm.
system.
Hmm.
Around there was some anger. That
Yeah.
some of that anger was associated with what I thought um, ended up with some depression that anger can bring on stuff. I know anger is a normal, healthy, complicated emotion. So we have to be a little bit careful with
Hmm.
that. It can be helpful also, but it can spin in some different directions if we don't get a handle on it and manage it.
Exactly, Lee. And being able to communicate anger in constructive ways is healthy. You're going to have anger, but
Yes.
being able to manage it,
Hmm.
it can enhance relationships and helps avoid unnecessary conflict and aggression. And that's what you want to be able to do, is to handle it in healthy ways. Going to see my son, with all the rules and the regulations. You can't wear this, you can't do that. My anger
Mm.
started to rise. I didn't ask for it, but you know what? God gave it to me. So I was strong enough to handle it, but I had to learn to control my anger in my responses. And remember that anger can range in intensity as well, from low level annoyance to
Yes.
fire breathing fury. And, we have to learn to manage that as adults and just know that this too shall pass. What you do today can have lasting effects. So remember, if you handle that anger in a wrong way today, that can have a lasting effect for tomorrow. And you don't want that to happen.
Yes.
The origins of the
Mhm.
anger can be external or internal. And some of the external anger triggers could be feeling unfairly treated, believing things that aren't, as they are, and being denied equal access. And what causes anger? We really have to look at it. It is a healthy, normal emotion that arises in response to a perceived threat. We got to remember that, or
Yes.
injustice. However, how you manage
Mhm.
and express it, that is what is important. What causes it? Anger is related to the body's acute stress response. So, your loved one being arrested or incarcerated, that is a stress response. Your body can't handle certain things that is going on. Anger may be an indication of an undiagnosed or untreated mental health disorder that you didn't know you had. Lee, you mentioned
That's
anxiety and
right.
depression. So think about that. That could have been a disorder that you could have had that was never diagnosed. So
That's
anger,
right.
it could be related to anxiety, grief, depression, bipolar disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, addiction, ADHD, oppositional defiant disorder, and personality disorders. I would
Mhm.
say my anger came from the trauma that I went through. Would you say that to be true about you, Lee? That the parents or loved ones, the wives, whoever,
Absolutely.
caregivers, they go through some traumatic responses sometimes that can cause that anger. And
Absolutely.
did
You
you
you have this thing that's thrust at you, and all of a sudden it's right in front of you, and you we didn't ask for it there. So you get
Mhm.
angry. I got angry. I can't say you angry. I was very
Ah,
angry with, as I said, with things and people until I was able to get it up under control a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's something people are there's so many different types of anger, and I want to go over a couple of them that you may be experiencing. Some is annoyance. The type of anger, there's annoyance. Now, somebody keeps asking you the same questions over and over again. You become annoyed. That is typically resides in the lower side of anger, where you're just annoyed. Then you have a moral outrage. That is a type of anger that often feels good, healthy, and even productive. After all, we typically feel it after witnessing or being the victim of an injustice. So, did you have a moral outrage, Lee?
I'm not sure if I heard my name called when you said
I did.
annoyance and stuff. Can you just repeat that
Uh,
again for me?
The
Just
low
my name
level,
with that. Yeah,
no, I called your name with the moral outrage when there's an injustice done. That is a type of anger.
that was a private
Did you?
outlet. That was me and you with
Oh,
the low
okay.
level and stuff.
Oh, oh, okay. All right. Gotcha. I'm sorry. I wasn't
Asking
quick
the
enough
same
to pick up
questions
on that.
over.
Yeah, asking the same questions
Um,
over and over and over again, then you become annoyed. You become annoyed with that.
okay.
Then there is the
Mhm.
moral outrage. Did you feel an injustice was
Mhm.
done, like several loved one or caregivers may feel right now, that an injustice was done with their loved one?
Yes, I did. I did. With the system, I don't want to name the city where it was and stuff, but
Okay.
I felt that there were some things that um, some of the judicial system were interested in numbers on a certain side
Hmm.
of the community there and stuff, and that side of the community was predominantly people of color, and it just seemed like there
Hmm.
was being more and more press on that particular side there than there was on the other sides or so. And yet, one thing I saw posted also, I just want to mention that my son had posted this was over for him and stuff because the particular um, figure, political figure, was running for office again. And I saw that he had posted something on his Facebook account to others saying, "Don't vote for this person because this is the same person that's tearing down the community that we live in." And
Wow.
I hadn't heard that from my son before, and I didn't know that he felt that way, but apparently he did. Don't express all of or don't say all that they're going through or feeling to their parents, the mothers and
Hmm.
I saw that he felt that in a text, a Facebook post. But yes, I did feel a certain way because I felt that it some prejudice going on there.
Okay. So when we
Yes.
look at moral outrage, it can lead to judgment and the desire for retaliation, even vengeance, and which can quickly escalate to abuse or violence. So you want to make sure that you can contain that. Get into some group therapy that will help with that so it does not get into, you know, that anxiety and that anger can really take over. And then, moral outrage can be productive if we let it guide us towards justice and healing. However, it can quickly overwhelm us if we use it to harm others or to elevate ourselves. Remember that. You never want to harm anybody else. You don't want them to feel what you feel.
No.
You want a solution. So look towards the solution. And that is, how can I, stop this? How can I help formulate a solution? Then you have assertive anger. Assertive anger is healthy, balanced expression of anger recommended by health experts, mental health experts. With assertive anger, you can express your point of view, and you can do that with confidence, and you can communicate how you're feeling clearly without intentionally hurting others. Remember, there are different types of communication. It is passive, assertive, and aggressive. That aggressive communication can cause anger. So, assertive anger is where
Yeah.
you're expressing yourself where others can understand you. And it also allows you to seek healing and justice instead of seeking being right or vindicated. So you want to make sure that that is it. Then there's passive anger. And as we talked about the three different styles of communication, assertive anger, and this is passive anger. The passive anger occurs when you refuse to admit or acknowledge your anger. Although this can sometimes be an intentional tactic to harm others, it can also be unintentional denial to yourself. Some people truly believe that they're not angry, even though they're sulking or snapping at others. Passive anger can be just as harmful to yourself as to others when you have confrontational forms of anger. Remember, you do not want that confrontational because you are responding out of anger. The logic and rationale is not coming forward at that time. So it's a good time to step off of any confrontation because it is not good when it is presented with anger. And then the other one is the aggressive anger, which I talked about before. That is the dangerous one. It intends to inflict physical or mental harm to someone. You don't want to harm anybody. You want somebody to feel what you're feeling. And that is not the way to do it through the aggressive anger. The target of your aggression may be another person or maybe yourself. It's outward signs of aggression: shouting, swearing, bullying, violence, critiquing, insulting, and accusing. That is the aggressive form. You know, you might go down to the jail and be very aggressive. And if you're too aggressive, guess what? You going in a cell until you cool off, because that is
Mhm,
not the
mhm.
behavior you should be using. Aggressive anger that's directed inward at yourself may look like isolation. It may look like shame. It may look like a number of different things, negative self-talk, self-talk. Those are the things that you don't want to happen. So, you know, there are so many things that anger does to you, and you want to make sure that it is balanced, that, you know, you're not doing anything that, you know, is harmful to other people and physically. Lee, would you like to comment on that?
As you were speaking, I was thinking about our Facebook Live group here and our lessons learned, our nonprofit that we have and stuff. And I think all of that was birthed out of assertive. Um, as you went through the three, the aggressive, assertive, and passive, I feel that that was birthed out of assertive. We did not. It was not with the intentions of harming anyone with the aggressive, and we didn't want to be too low on the level that we kept too quiet, but we wanted to be heard, and we wanted to be there for others if the need arose through a situation gone through. So I feel that that was birthed out of assertive. So I just wanted to
Yes.
bring that out or so. Um,
Thank you, Lee. And that's important. You know, when we have the uncontrolled anger, the rage, you know, different things, that means you're boiling. You're at that boiling point where things are going to spill out, things that shouldn't spill out. It can also mean some health conditions such as heart problems, high blood pressure, muscle tension, chronic pain,
yes.
lower intensity, poor
Hmm.
decision making. As I said before, you're not thinking with logic and rationale. And also, there could be substance abuse or addiction because you can't handle the anger. So you're going to pick up a drink, you're going to smoke some weed, you're going to do something that may harm you physically. So, how do you deal with this in a healthy way? First, you're going to try problem solving. Remember what I said. You're going to think, I need a solution. Let's problem solve. Sometimes our anger and our frustration is inescapable and we can't get around it. So maybe we need to reach out to our support system and say, hey, I need you to help me. We have to find a way around this. We have to make this. I can't stand to see another loved one go through this. How can I need you to help me? And that is when you're brainstorming, you know, you're brainstorming ways and solutions. It's problem solving, you know, maybe consider different perspectives. Empathy and compassion can help you view frustrating, simple situations from another point of view. By considering a different perspective, you realize that anger is not the most helpful or appropriate response to the situation. Right then and there, your loved one needs you. So when you attack them with anger that you can't handle at that point, that's not what they need either. Because guess what happens? It can
No.
filter into another situation on the inside, and that is not what you want. So plan and check your progress along the way. Resolve to give it your best and don't punish yourself. Okay? Release that anger the best that you can by going into best intentions and efforts of problem solving. The next thing, your patience. Now, I have thin patience. My tolerance is very low. So I'm gonna fly off the handle. I gotta learn to bring it in sometimes. Lee, how about you? How's your patience? Do you get angry fast?
Girl, girl, girl. It just depends sometimes you have stuff that's boiling or so. I remember sharing with our audience tonight a couple Facebook lives ago. I had a situation right before we came on air. I picked up a call on my cell phone because I thought it was someone calling about the show, but it wasn't. It was an ex-family member that was calling with a different situation. I said, "Oh well, no, I'm doing this and I'm doing that and stuff," and it made me a little bit, and it rose into anger. So after we were off the show or so now, and I said, I need to solve this right. So I made a phone call back, and I probably was a little, I, I should have waited to make that, would have been in a better situation. However, the issue got resolved. They won't be calling me again. But and that's when, like you say, the anger can sometimes can be helpful because, like I say, that situation, we level that one out pretty much or so. So I think we're pretty much on the same page. But one thing I wanted to back to, you mentioned the support system. It's good to have a support system. And when you're going through these things and these emotions that will cause you to get angry or so, it's so important to have a support system. And I say support system because you're dealing with the situation. We're dealing with the situation that involves. Now we got to be a certain way when we get to them so that will not cause them to be angry or upset. But on the back, you have to also keep our emotions or so. Well, we reach out to our family. We reach out to our friends. Then at a point, they don't want to hear it anymore. So we need a support system, though like kind, so to speak, and talk to that those that have gone through some of the same things that we can talk to and they can understand just where we are or what we're going through or so. That support system is so important. So I
it is.
suggest to you, if you get you a good system, not to say that your family or your friends don't want it, because they do, but they get tired whether they get it or not. They do.
Yeah.
So just wanted
And
to
that's
bring that up.
good. You
So
know,
thank
that
you, Lynn.
support system. Thank you. That support system will help you, brainstorm solutions around it. That is the time when you need them. Angry people tend to jump to conclusions, and some of those conclusions can be very inaccurate. Remember, this side of your brain is logic and rationale. So a lot of times when you're angry, you're not thinking about using any rationale. You want to be heard. You want people to know what you're feeling at that time. And that's when that anger can take over. Remember, listen to what is underlying the anger. What is it, the situation at hand? What can you do about it at that moment? You can't do anything. That's why we started this group, the support system. We started our lessons learned because our hands were tied. We had nowhere to run. We had nothing we could do. We felt tied. That's why it is important that we help you with restorative practices. We can help you from our lessons. Some things we may not know, but we can be there as a support system for you. We felt alone, and we never wanted a loved one to feel that way. So it's natural to get defensive when you're being criticized. People are going to say things about you. Well, I don't know why. Where was she? How he got in trouble? How did she do this and that? There's all kind of things, but we have to remember to keep ourselves balanced. And Lee, when you said before that you solved the situation and you didn't have to worry about it, you used assertive anger. You asserted yourself and you put things in perspective so it was understood. And that's why you didn't hear about it. You weren't aggressive and you didn't use passive. You were assertive. You shut it down. That's what you did. You shut the situation down. So we have to remember that reaching out to a friend can help you shut that situation down. So remember, don't let your anger make you spin out of control. When we look at cognitive restructuring, our mind is structured, our thoughts are structured in a certain way. So we have to restructure our thinking around our anger so we can look at it differently. I always say, let's change our lens. Let's look at the situation differently. How is this really affecting me? And it's alternative ways of thinking that's going to make us react to the anger a little bit different. Angry people curse, swear, speak in highly colorful terms and themes, calling you everything but a child of God. Okay? So that is their anger. Be careful that you never use never or always when talking about yourself or other people, because sometimes people will say you always do this and you always do that. Make sure you refrain from doing that. Learn to
Mhm.
self-regulate. Regulate yourself. Put your brakes on. Okay, you got your sneakers on and you ready to run? Put your brakes on and say, you know what? Let me regulate myself, the ability to observe my mood that I'm in and adapt my emotions and behaviors to suit the situation. And it's hard in that moment. Let me tell you, it's so hard when you get that call or you hear things that are going on. It's hard to regulate those emotions. My son had COVID this week. So it was hard for me to regulate those emotions. Why didn't he have a booster? They gave him the first set of boosters, but where was the second set of boosters? So I got very angry about that. I got angry and then I said, okay, now they're going to take away, shut this dorm, shut this block down, and there'll be no visitations again. So, those are things I had to learn to regulate those emotions. A key component to your to self-regulation is stress management. Yes, you are stressed. Yes, it causes you this and that. How am I going to get the money to pay for this? How am I going to do that? How am I going to do that? This and that. That causes stress. And it comes to regulating those
Mhm.
emotions because if not, irritable and it causes the anger. You will be able to choose healthier responses once you lower that stress and that anger might not be triggered. Take a break. Stepping away from a situation and taking a deep breath can help you with making choices. It can also help you physically manage your anger by lowering your heart rate and calming your body's stress response. When you get when you get angry, your heart rate goes up to dangerous levels sometimes, especially when you get into that rage condition. And if you're having problems doing that, seek out
Mhm.
one-on-one professional help. There are all kind of group therapies out there, support groups for anger management, for anxiety, stress busting, and things of that nature. That is a great idea to do something like that. But remember, try to regulate as much as you can. Um, and I want to leave you with this something you know, that I thought was a great Bible scripture. But before I leave you with that, Lee, would you like to add anything to anger and the ways to control it? I didn't mention mindfulness, but you know how we talk about, you know, being in a moment and clearing our minds and just getting in a zone. And once you're in a zone, that is being mindful. You're taking all of that energy from what's making you anxious, what's making you angry, and you're putting it into being mindful in the moment. Lee, would you
Mhm.
like to add anything to that?
Well, as we said, anger is an emotion that it's normal, but we have to try to make sure that it doesn't get out of control. If we see that anger is getting to where you don't want it to be and stuff. Some things that I think about and some things I like to do is, or I like to mention is exercise, getting out walking, And that's
Mhm.
physical for your body also. That can help some of that heart beat that is increased or so. You and I were talking one time about gardening, planting some flowers
Mhm.
this time of the year
Mhm.
and stuff. That can kind of help you. I'm going to say de-anger. It's not.
Focus. Yeah.
That's not a word, but I'm so it takes away some of that anger, um, so that you can get to a place or so. Because when it reaches those high levels, it can be very dangerous, and it can lead to so many other things that are just not good. And
Mhm.
that anger, it not only comes from with a loved one that's perhaps incarcerated or arrested, it comes from so many other situations. And so I know and we talked about once in some sessions, we were talking about grief. Um, Anger is one of these steps, I think, is about the fourth step in grief, that you're angry
Mhm.
because you lost your loved one, your friend or so, and you go through those
Mhm.
different steps and so and you get angry at your, your person for perhaps leaving the person that's responsible for, we get a little angry at God or so, and we that's natural. It's okay that we do that because he's big enough that he can do that too. So he's okay with that or so. And there are plenty of scriptures that we can refer to that deal with anger in the Bible, and so that's all good and stuff. But anger, we go through anger in so many different things in our lives that we deal with on just a regular basis or so. So I think we all become angry at some points or another in our lives. We have to learn to control it so that it won't get to a place that it's not manageable because it can become very, very dangerous or so.
Okay. Thank you,
So
Lee.
just thoughts that I were having.
And it's true. Anger is hard to manage. We're not going to lie to you. It's hard to manage if you don't know the learned coping skills. So I hope tonight I've, you know, given you some learned coping skills about being still, cognitive reframing the situation, getting support. And I want to leave you with this scripture. It's James, the book of James, 1, 19 and 20. Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. For the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God. So I wanted to leave you with that scripture, and we do have some 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 comments in here. Passive anger can be dangerous for someone who lets in build over time and has never sought help. Then it may become explosive to the point of no return. Yes, passive aggressiveness, you hold things in and then you blow. It's like taking the top off of a radiator back in the day. Cars don't have that no more. But taking the top off of a radiator and all the steam comes out because it is at a boiling point. So
Mhm.
passive aggressive, you have held it in and it's building, it's building, it's building. So by the time it comes out, it's at a boiling point and that can be dangerous. So thank you for that. Also, remember getting angry and
Mhm.
being angry is human. So don't be too hard on yourself because Jesus Christ got angry, turned over the tables in the temple. Yes, he did. So again, I personally comment you leaders for the patience in the professional manner that you have conducted yourself. Keep the faith and keep trusting God for the victory. We have to keep the faith. I just started 14 years and I said, okay, Lord, I'm praying. I'm still praying for that miracle. I haven't seen
Mhm.
it yet, but I'm keeping the faith. There's sometimes I get angry. When I think about it, okay, you got this going on, you got that going on. COVID, I think about that. These are the things that are very hard for me to take, and I get angry with the system. You know, Lee and I watched something today from the Peace and Justice Institute that was so powerful, and it was about young kids and how they're angry with everything in life that has happened to them. Either their parent has been incarcerated, or, just certain things, they've been victimized in certain things, but they're in a program that is changing their life. And guess what? It's not about incarceration. What is it about, Lee? Do the
It's about making
remember,
yourself
Lee?
whole.
It's about making yourself whole. Yes. They're
Hmm.
broken. So what does the system do? It doesn't break them. It doesn't make them whole. Being in a program with restorative justice, that is what that was about. Restorative justice. And it was powerful. So think about that. We're here for you. We're here to support you, whatever you may be walking through. Let us know. We want to walk with you. It's a journey that we're on. No, we didn't ask for it, but it was given to us. And you know why it was given to us? Because we're strong
Hmm.
enough to handle it. God has helped us, and we are strong enough to handle this journey. So we have to say yes sometimes instead of no. I can't do it. Yes, I can do it. I'm going to make it through this. And remember, when you say that, you will make it through every single time. It's how you go through the journey, how you travel on that road. We don't know. The unknown is there. We don't know. We don't know what the future holds, but we know who holds the future. So just keep positive, and it's hard, but trust me, it will get you through every time. And I thank you for allowing us again to talk to you about anger management. We thought that it was very important to talk about it because we get angry sometimes. We get angry on the effect that it has on us, the effect it has on our loved ones, and the effect that it has on the community. So help us help you. We're here for you. And we just thank you. Lee, would you like to say any final comments?
I was just wondering, and you might have some insight, can help. I was thinking about the stereotypes
Hmm.
regarding people of color,
Hmm.
particularly Black women, and how we agree. Um, what's your feelings about that, Lynn?
Well, we did talk about that before, how we're labeled. That's overgeneralizing,
Hmm.
stereotyping. Um, and I wouldn't say that we have come up against a whole lot of stuff, and we have to learn to control our anger so that label doesn't fit.
Yeah,
We have to learn to control our anger so the label
yeah,
doesn't fit.
yeah.
We don't get more angry than anybody else. So, over generalizing and stigmatizing us
Hmm.
with that should not be. Our anger is
Yeah,
warranted because of
yeah,
the situation. And it keeps going on and on and on. There
exactly.
has to be solutions now. Let's put our anger into resolve and finding solutions to reinvent the wheel. And that's what needs to be done. More
Hmm.
restorative justice practices are needed. Google restorative justice. It will stop
Hmm.
the incarceration in many cases. Each state is different. When I talk about this, each state is different. So look at it that way. And, like, keep trusting God. Keep trusting God.
Hmm.
Don't let the bitterness and the anger eat up at you. Because guess what? You're no good to your loved one. You have to still support your loved one. So if you know anybody that's going through, let us know. If you know anybody that's going through, send them here. We want to support you with what you're going through
Hmm.
because we've been there. We are there. So we thank you along this journey, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.